My favorite part of Chicago is the Beam because you can see all of Chicago in it.
Alright, my favorite place to go to in Chicago is Wrigley Field. I live like 2 blocks from it. There's always a party going on. Whether it be at the bars or in the venue, it's always a good time.
My favorite place in Chicago is the Madhouse on Madison, also known as the United Center, because that's where all the Chicago Blackhawks hockey players can be found. It's fun.
My favorite spot in Chicago is near the Trump Tower because you stand there and you look at the water and the buildings, and it's just one of the most beautiful sights in Chicago.
My favorite spot in Chicago is the Navy Pier Ferris wheel, at the top of it, of course, because you can see the whole city and it's very romantic, even though I've never been there in a romantic setting, but I would imagine it would be very romantic.
My favorite spot in Chicago is the Marilyn Monroe statue because it's new to the city, and so am I.
So my favorite place in Chicago is Myopic, which is a bookstore in Wicker Park. It's awesome.
My favorite spot in Chicago is the Art Institute because they have an amazing array of paintings, my favorite being The Millinery Shop by Edgar Degas.
My favorite place in Chicago has got to be where Grant Park and Millennium Park meet. There's that nice opening and you can see the beautiful skyline, and every time there's a different holiday like the 4th of July, the lights change. It's my favorite spot.
My favorite spot in Chicago, and the famous words of the CTA conductors, Harold Washington Library, State, and then Bureau. It's great because, you know, people get the brown line on both ways, you get the purple line express, you have transfer to the red line, which gets you everywhere. You got your orange midway, which is great, you know, your pink line, and throw in a couple blue when you get a chance. So it's a great spot, check it out.
My favorite spot in Chicago is the Lincoln Park Zoo because 1, it's free, and 2, it's a really nice place to just go and like sit and see some animals, and then you have the skyline to your left or right. It's just beautiful. I love it.
My favorite spot in Chicago is the very end of Navy Pier after walking through all the hustle and bustle of city life to just sit out at the end and be able to see the lighthouses and the lake and stuff. It's the best.